morning, welcome to
Family Math number 134.
Family Math number 134. So last night I was back reading one of my favorite books, Ingenuity in Mathematics by Ross Hansberger. And he had a chapter on a really cool problem that Gauss solved. And I just want to go through it today, quickly. You don't need to understand everything, but it's a very cool problem. Okay, so the question is, basically how many different ways can you write an integer as a sum of two perfect squares? So, for example, and you can have positive and negative numbers in the perfect squares. So, for example, 5, do you have a marker? Equals 2 squared plus 1 squared. It equals 1 squared plus 2 squared. We're going to count those as being different.
So the commutative doesn't matter.
Right. So there's one way to write it. There's another way to write it. Here's another way to write it. Minus 1 squared plus 2 squared. What's another way?
Well, minus 1 squared plus minus 2 squared.
Very good. Absolutely. In fact, each 2 and 1 can have a plus and a minus.
Yeah.
And then for each, we can flip them.
So you have to multiply by 2.
Okay? So we got 2 choices for the 2, 2 choices for the 1, that's 4, and then we can flip them. So it turns out there's going to be 8 of these. Okay? Let's use your marker. Turns out there's going to be 8 of these. Okay? But for some, there might not be any. For example, how about 7? Can you think of any way to write 7 as a sum of 2 perfect squares?
Well, there's 2 squared plus the square root of 3 squared.
Okay. Yeah, a perfect square, though, means an integer squared.
So there's no way to do it.
There's no way to do it. And that's the next thing I want to talk about. But first I want to make just a very quick list. Okay? Maybe we'll just do a few. 0, there's only one way to do it. 0 squared plus 0 squared. So that's just 1. 1 we can write as 1 squared plus 1 squared. 1 squared plus 0 squared.
And then the other way around.
Okay, good. The other way around. 0 squared plus 1 squared.
And the negatives.
Okay. So how many total ways will there be for 1?
8? No. 6. Well, there's minus 1 squared plus 0 squared.
Right.
1 squared plus minus 0 squared.
Minus 0 squared. What do you think?
That's the same as 0.
That 0 and minus 0 are the same. So how many ways will there be for 1?
4.
4. Very good. 2 ways to write the 1. 1 way to write the 0. And then you can flip them. So here's the flip, and then I have a minus 1 squared, minus 1 squared. How about 2?
Let's see. We have 1 squared plus 1 squared.
1 squared. 1 squared plus 1 squared.
You can have, well, it's the same when you flip them.
Same when you flip them. So that won't be different.
There'll be 3 different ways.
There will be 3 different ways. Okay, because I could have minus 1 squared plus 1 squared. And then I can have 1 squared plus minus 1 squared. Okay, so I think you're getting the hang of this. So let's talk about why we couldn't find any for 7.
Can't you also have minus 1 squared plus minus 1 squared?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
4.
You're getting the hang of it better than I am. 4. Sorry, yeah, 2 ways to write this one, 2 ways to write this one. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so let's find out why we can't do 7. Good, thank you for catching that.